Hey everybody, this is DG Podcast episode 175.
That's right.
I
Well,
always delay that just so that Jason can confirm it for me, just in case I don't know what I'm talking about. Jason, how's it going?
not too bad considering.
Considering what?
Well, let's see. Not yesterday, day before. I got a text at. No, it was yesterday. Yesterday morning. Yesterday morning, I'm lying in bed, and I get a text at 6:45.
Mm-hmm.
It's my credit card company, and they're asking me if I was making a credit card charge to the Wichita Eagle. And I'm like, it's 6:45 in the morning. Of course not.
My initial guess is the credit card or the text message is fake. Usually they
No.
would. It isn't fake. Okay.
It isn't fake. So I text them back, and I say, no, I didn't authorize a charge to the Wichita Eagle today. And they came back and they said, it's outside of our normal calling hours. Please call the number on the back of your credit card. I'm like, why are you sending me a text 6:45 in the morning if you're not going to actually do anything about this text when I reply to it? So I wait and I call later when I'm thinking that they'll be in the office, call the fraud department. Turns out there are 3 charges in Kansas, coming from Kansas, on my credit card. So,
Anything spectacular or interesting?
no.
Charges that were very big?
No.
You know, my guess is some people, and that probably happens fairly often when they steal credit card information, make very small purchases hoping that they just sneak through in the background.
Maybe. See, the thing is that all 3 of the charges were for about $50. The one that they texted me about and that got denied, that one was for $100. And so I look up the Wichita Eagle to figure out what in the world that is.
Sounds
It
like
turns
a
out
newspaper.
it's a newspaper in Kansas.
So somebody was buying lots of newspaper?
Evidently.
What could you buy for $100 in a newspaper?
I have no idea. A year's subscription?
Really, you're gonna steal you're gonna do the most mundane thing and steal a credit card information, somebody's credit card information, and
So you can
get
pay
a
for your
subscription
credit?
to a newspaper?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
Like, that's an efficient way to deal with these sorts of things.
Yeah. So no credit card for a while. They've
You cancel
basically
it.
killed it.
They're minor stuff. You report it, or they do whatever they got to do.
Yeah.
And
I've reported it. They've canceled the credit card. They're going to send me another one, but it's going to be 3 to 5 business days. So it could be next week by the time that finally gets to us. But yeah, it was annoying to say the least. I'm like, really? You're going to charge $100 on my credit card for a newspaper subscription? Okay.
it could not be a newspaper subscription. Maybe the guy works there and he's trying to prop up the paper.
Maybe. I just need $100.
Get a good. If I buy $100 worth of newspapers, it'll make the numbers on the newspaper rise, and they won't fire me.
Crap! They found out.
Perhaps you need
Got turned down.
Perhaps you need the $100
Yeah.
if his job is on the line.
I mean, the credit card. The guy that I talked to on the phone, he was like, one of the things that went through was, he said it was like a test. It's like they send through the test amount first, and if that works, then they send a bigger amount later. And so I don't know, maybe that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to do the like with the $50, see if that went through. What surprises me is the $50 went through at all. Because I've had my credit card, I've had the company block payments on charges that I made here in town when they thought that it wasn't me.
I think I had it happen once where a charge happened, and they were like, "Is this you?" And I was like, "Yes." I think it was just sort of, I had no activity for a long period of time, and I finally had some money and bought something, and it was like a few $100s, and they're like, "Whoa, hold on a minute, fella."
Right, and that could be it. I'm not entirely sure because, like I said, I've had them stop payment on stuff that's here in town. I expect them, if it's in Wichita, Kansas, to say, whoa, this guy is not in Wichita, Kansas. The last charge he made was yesterday in Utah. Maybe we should be, skeptical of this charge. But no, it took them 3 tries before they're like, hey, maybe we should notify this guy and ask him if these other 3 charges are, well, I should say this 4th charge is legit or not. So, I mean, I was at the Little Caesars Pizza buying something for lunch one day, and
it denied it.
And it denied
They're
me.
like, he's never been to Little Caesars.
I was like, it was under $5. This one is $50, and they're like, oh yeah, go through. Even though it's like, I'd have to get the map out to tell you exactly how many states away Kansas is, but it's like halfway across the country.
Yeah, Midwest.
So, other than that, I mean, we caught it really soon. They didn't
I'm
charge
guessing the
a lot of
charges are
stuff.
small enough that you won't have to take them on.
The thing is that they asked me about the charges, and we tracked back, and we're like, okay, yes, that charge I did make. No, that one, no, that one, no, that one. And they're like, okay, they're off, kind of thing. So,
I think
yeah.
we need to, as a whole, do better with cybersecurity. We're not doing that great.
No, we aren't. It's only 2 states away. Colorado's in the middle, and then it's Kansas.
Well, not that this is a topic we need to get into, but I'm just saying.
No, I was just curious.
We have lots of news to go over. A heartfelt email from John, which Jason and I asked not to read just so he could react to it naturally. Lots to go through, so let's actually play the email jingle.
And now it's time for the Distracted Gamers podcast listener emails, where Dr. Jason will paraphrase, eviscerate, and with surgical precision, remove all salient points from your feedback, leaving you sounding like a barely literate baboon.
In reality, I'm reading this, not Jason, so the baboon part will be my fault. John, our good boy Johnny Boy, starts out saying, I'm done. I extended my hand out to try and help you, and you bite me by calling me a douche. I totally get... Now, let's keep going. I totally get what my friend was telling me when he showed me the show. He told me about how you guys are not only unprofessional, but that the show would implode on itself. It hasn't yet. I never was a fan. I never was. Why are you listening? If you hate it so much, why put yourself through that?
Seriously.
More of an observer that would have helped you with my experience and give you a foothold in the entertainment industry. You could forget about it now. We didn't ask for your help, sir.
Nope.
We're not looking for random fans to sort of change things for us. The show exists because we want to do it. Me and Jason like to do it, and it's fun. Not because we are asking for help. I'm confused as to why he thought...
I'm also confused about this unprofessional thing. We're just 2 amateur podcasters. This isn't professional in any way, shape, or form. If it was professional, it would be done in a studio, and we'd have a script, and yada, yada, yada. That's not what
here's
we're doing.
the thing, and this is part of what the podcast has been good for with previous people who listen. The off-the-cuff... See, we could turn this into a straight-up news show where we just sort of pound the pavement and do... But that's not entertaining. And in fact, most people tend not to prefer straight-up journalism anyway, which is why gaming journalism itself and a lot of just... newspapers and stuff have been dying because they want to attach entertainment to it. That's why, confusingly, Let's Plays are so popular, because people can sit and sort of connect with the people that they're listening to almost like a one-on-one basis, which is usually why when people listen to us, they sort of feel like they know us fairly well.
Right.
If that makes sense.
We're not trying for professional here.
Yeah, the purpose is actually purposely not trying to be professional. We're randomly talking about our feelings. If this was a news thing, we would actually insert our opinions very little.
Right.
The opinion part is what's supposed to be the entertaining part. Clearly you disagree, but whatever. Moving on, Jason, you could go somewhere if you dropped Rhett. You've got potential, sir. He goes on to say, he acts like he knows everything. That's true. But he likes to learn unimportant and useless information and to act big because he knew something no one gives a crap about. You do realize that's 90% of people? And I like learning things. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry for learning things, but...
Well, the thing is that and maybe he just didn't get this from me being involved in the podcast and whatnot, but I love learning useless bits of knowledge.
We all do.
I'm a trivia buff.
Oh, yeah. There's a reason why me and Jason are friends. It's not an abstract concept. He goes on to say, I get the feeling the only reason his girlfriend, those are two words instead of one, or that's one word instead of two, sir, is dating him out of pity. She even sounds scared of him. So there might even be abuse in there. So if you meet in person, look for signs. Me and Jason live a couple blocks from each other.
Yeah.
We've met and we spend physical time together at least a couple times a week. Let me finish this by saying, Jason, best of luck. Rhett, you're a dick. Which I quite enjoy the ending. First of all...
let me just say,
from your
I know
outside
Lindsay
perspective.
personally as well. She's been over to my house. I haven't, she's been really busy with vet school and stuff.
She's super stressed out.
There's none of that. She's not afraid of Rhett in any way, shape, or form.
First of all...
Except for maybe, like, if she had to catch you if you passed out. I think she'd be afraid of that.
She asked me out.
Yes, she did.
I didn't ask her out. She asked me out because she was super and she didn't think I would be into her, and it sort of dragged out because I wasn't super interested at first, and then we became good friends, and then it sort of grew from there. But it was all like on her end, really being into me. The second part, if truth be told, and Lindsay would actually hate me for saying this, she's hit me twice. I've never touched her before. She kicked me in the knee once and punched me. She actually connected with a fist to the face. And these weren't like aggressive, like purposeful trying to injure me. These were, we actually go to the same martial arts class, and she has no control because she's fairly lower rank. And she hates it when I bring it up because I was like, I'm in an abusive relationship. Oh, that's funny. I wonder where he got the thing that he thought that she
was afraid of you. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
get that impression,
Lindsay,
Jason?
No, Lindsay, if anything, is an outspoken person. If she was, I can't imagine her being afraid of you. She just wouldn't be around you if
no,
she
believe
was.
it or not, because you've gotten used to her personality. She's a lot like me in many ways.
Yeah.
She's really outspoken about stuff. Let me respond to a few things before we say goodbye to you forever, sir, and we move on. Extended my hand out to try and help. We didn't ask you. See, that's what's a confusing part. You sort of approached us, I think it was the last email, where I was like, dude, come on. Where you were sort of condescending. Our podcast doesn't exist because we want you to help. It is what it is because we want it to be that way. It is strange to me that some random person who listens sometime starts to give me advice about the podcast when I didn't ask for it. And the way you talked down to me, was I wrong in assessing the fact that he kind of sounded like a douche when he wrote that?
I would say that was kind of a rude way to, go about
And I
trying to
even
help
gave him
out.
the benefit of the doubt, and I said, look, let's assume that he's being kind and not being douchey. Like it sounded, because it's hard to say what somebody's emotions sound like in a message. I sent a message to
Right.
Lindsay the other day, and she thought I was accusing her of not doing enough for my cat or something.
Oh,
And I was like, no, I was just being sarcastic because I'm bummed out because he's gone. Apparently had a friend that turned him on to it, and they both don't like it. Okay. Yeah, unprofessional. Okay. Look, a lot of this comes down to personality, and my personality can be somewhat abrasive, and I accept
Yeah.
that. It doesn't bother me if people don't like it. And part of listening to the podcast is you kind of have to like the people you're listening to. So if you don't like me and you think the podcast is unprofessional, then go the hell away. Look, it's great if you want to listen and respond, and it's a cool response and stuff. That's great. But if you don't like it, it's like I call him a douche once, and in the abstract of saying maybe I'm jumping the gun, but it sounds like he's being a douche. And he pouted, stomped his feet, and said, "I'm going home." Like, this sounds like a child more than an adult that wrote this email. You really don't take criticism, and you don't take negative
And to go straight
responses
from-
very well.
And to go straight from you must be, you're calling me names to you must be abusing your girlfriend. I mean, come on, guy. You're calling us unprofessional.
Sorry, Jason,
but-
you sound like you have places to go, that you have potential. Am I
Seriously?
going to jump the gun? Am I out of bounds by saying if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be doing the podcast?
I wouldn't be doing the podcast.
I sort of made up the idea myself, and I got you and Vaughn into it when we first did it. It's fun to talk back and forth, this sort of hanging out sort of thing, but you don't strike me as the person that would.
I
do
don't
this
know why he would say
yourself.
that. Well, I feel that I would be, if I did this, it would be like the No, where they have the two guys up there talking, and I'm the guy off to the side shouting comments. You know what I mean? I'm not the guy
It
who
would sound
stands in
like
front of the
NPR.
camera.
Well, look, and this is me sounding like I'm being mean to Jason, but Chance frequently goes, "Jason's stuff is dull," and I frequently skip it. I actually
And the
really
thing is,
enjoy
I don't care.
Yeah, well, see, that's what's so weird about this. I think he assumes that we really care, and this is his final, like, F you and giving us the fingers. He walks out the door.
Uh-huh.
If I was really hurt, as you seem to have been, by me calling you a douche, assuming you were being one, if I was as hurt as much as you were, I'd come into the podcast crying. I'd be like, "God, this is the worst. Some random dude I've never met on the internet called me a dick. What are we going to do, Jason?" See, once again, this is that personality that you don't like, that sounds condescending, like I know everything. But hey, you're not going to be listening to the podcast anymore, so, goodbye, sir. The Lindsay thing confuses me. I get that somebody can come across as like my personality doesn't gel with them.
Yeah.
I get that portion, because not everybody likes everybody, believe it or not.
I mean,
the part about the
if-
girlfriend is weird, because I don't think we've ever had a thing where she said anything that made her sound like
No.
she was scared of me. Why would you listen to hours of this podcast if you despise it? How strange a thing. You are a strange man, sir. Jason, final responses.
Well, it was fun having you write into the podcast so we could read your emails and stuff. But look, like Rhett says, if you don't like the podcast, go find something else you do like.
What a strange thing to do.
Yeah, I
And
don't
then
know what to
keep
tell you.
listening even after he was all like annoyed with stuff. Because his emails were often sort of strange, because he would respond to things, but usually in a "you're wrong, this," instead of like feedback, it was like he was reviewing us constantly. Do you get that impression?
Looking back at it. Then the thing is that I don't mind that. It's like,
That's the
whatever.
thing. We didn't care if you wanted to send us emails. We're still reading your douchey email, and if other people get affected by it and they're like, "Wow, Rhett really is a dick," then so be it. Perhaps you're saving them from a lifelong of listening to emails that they don't want to, listening to podcasts that they don't. What a strange thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't like a podcast, I don't listen to it. I try the Giant Bombcast, and frequently people talk about it like it's really good. It might be really good, but it just doesn't gel with me. I don't care for it. So that comes down to subjective, personal opinion and on what you like and what you don't like. Interesting that he said that he works in the entertainment industry. I don't think there's anything that you are a part of that we want to be a part of.
Yeah,
can't say. If molding us into something that we are not, gosh, this guy's probably 12 freaking years old.
No, he's older than that.
You think so?
Oh, I know. So he's kind of mentioned.
He sounds older. So let's assume that he's even older than we are. Maybe he's an old jaded douche in the entertainment industry. You need to grow up.
Well, my thing is like if he was so interested in helping us and he's in the entertainment industry, why didn't he come out and say it?
Well, I think
hey, I'm interested in helping you guys out. I'm in the industry. Here's some contacts. This is what we're, if you don't mind my help, Right.
But I think his last email was, what is the purpose of this podcast? It sounded weird and sort of condescending. So I responded like, dude, we do it for fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, I'm not coming to your doorstep asking you to do a complete makeover of our industry. You know what I mean?
Would we like to make money off the podcast? Sure.
But
that would be nice.
If this turns into something where I don't enjoy it, then I'm not going to be doing it.
Right.
If this becomes just a crap show where I have to come in and act like I care and get through that. But in all honesty, sir, because I assume you've looked over the email after I've read it. Gosh, you really need to I don't know. I don't want to say I'm sorry you had to go home and cry in your pillow from what it sounded like. But you really need to grow up. Like, get over small insults. Did you have a very successful life and you didn't live growing up with friends that sort of jabbed at each other? And is that the sort of reason why you can't take even small insults? Chance calls me all sorts of horrid things.
Chance
is a really good friend of mine.
In one of the comments on one of the videos on YouTube, he's like, it was the Sony killed my parents video. He's like, you lie. You don't have parents.
Well, that's why Chance works so well for us and why he loves the podcast is because he has similar personalities. And that's what I'm trying to explain to you, John, is that you don't seem to, and so be it. But I still don't. Well, two things that need to be sort of reiterated from this. I don't care. I really don't hate you, or even none of this bothers me whatsoever. Have you ever given the impression, knowing me, Jason, that I really care what people think of me?
Never once.
Good luck in the future. Hopefully you find a podcast that's more entertaining. Maybe we can together convince Jason to set up his new conglomerate of podcasts because he's so good at it.
It'd be about 5 minutes long and it'd be me going, hey, how's it going? Later.
I honestly developed sort of just as an aside, a podcast personality, which we both have been forced to. Because when we first started, neither you or Vaughn would speak up when we'd have big, like, dead air times. So I would just have to keep talking to fill in the space, which ended up me being sort of a domineering sort of personality in the whole thing.
And that's kind of why
you've actually grown quite a bit in the podcast arena and been more confident as speaking up and that sort of thing as well.
Well, the other thing is that we've also divided it up in such a way that it's like there's your part where you talk a lot, there's my part where I'm supposed to talk more.
And we did that on purpose so that Jason, because I honestly, as much as you think I'm a dick, I felt like I was dominating too much of the podcast. I wanted Jason to have a portion where he sort of steered it, and unfortunately that scared Chance away. But I think we've actually developed Jason's portion into something that's very entertaining. At least I am entertained watching it.
I like it. I mean, it was always, a kind of a struggle to come up with what are we going to do when it's my turn to be in charge. And I'm like, there's all these video games coming out. Let's talk about them.
That was a good idea.
Yeah. And it was like, seriously, and it's kind of grown from, expanded from, we're going to talk about the ones that either struck me as being really good or really terrible to all the ones that are coming out. But, hey,
we've speculated on a format change. Nothing's been finalized, but to continue on with what we are doing,
right?
Just to reiterate, John, good luck. I mean, I hope you have a great life and all that. I mean, none of this bothers me, so I don't know why you're so hurt by it. Like, you really need to, I don't know, grow a spine or grow up or something. And if you are older than I am, which we speculated on, then that is really sad, sir. That is really sad. But don't listen to the podcast if you don't like it. For goodness sakes, don't listen to us. And then come on and email us that you were really upset about it. That you've been listening to something you don't like. What a weird... That's so strange to me.
I know that's the thing. My approach to people extends to this. It's like, if I don't like you, I don't stand around you and wallow in your presence. I sit there and I go away.
That's actually exactly what I do, which is pretty much why we're friends. It's just, life is too short to get bent out of shape about everybody's little nonsense and why they're so, they really want, like, everybody wants to get along and all the stupid drama and stuff. My life actually became better when I just walked away from drama. Yeah. When people were making stuff just too stupid and it's too hard, I just sort of it's not worth it. I'm just not gonna. I mean, to be fair, the last few months I've sounded just crappy and really cynical, but part of it is I've had a really rough few months.
Yeah.
I've been sick like crazy and trying to save my cat and spending all the money I had to try and save him and nothing working out, and gosh, I mean, it's just been rough. I've had what was it? Weird injuries. I was getting really sick during the summer and I couldn't figure out why. I mean, stuff happens. Life is a part of it, but yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna let go of the John bandwagon. Is there anything you want to finalize before we lose our random person that showed up, talked down to us, and then left left all pouty?
Like I said, if we enjoyed your reading your emails, but hey. We understand.
I enjoyed the fact that you were listening and you wanted to respond.
Yep. But hey, if you don't like the podcast, you don't like the podcast. See ya.
And we bid you adieu, good sir, as we shift on to the incredibly long, as I have to find it, news dump. So we're going to play the news dump as we are on top of things. We've had the worst internet problems, which is heavily affected the podcast, to be fair.
Yeah.
News dump, you guys. Let's get all interested.
The Distracted Gamer Podcast's big steaming pile of news dump.
That's right again. Lindsay's favorite segment of the podcast where we hear a big dump.
Oh, by the way, just wanted to point out, I got a notification today from Gearbox. They're doing a Borderlands weekend thing, I guess, over at Xbox. They're giving you the Borderlands Handsome Collection and letting you play online for free for like the 27th to the 30th on Xbox 360 or Xbox One.
Yeah, I got it. And that's number 2 on the docket we don't have to talk about. No, I don't care. Jason brought it up, and we can scratch that off, and I have to bring it up.
I didn't know that it was on the. And anyway, keep going.
The only question I have is it temporary?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't been able to tell.
If you get it now, do you just have it? Let you know
I
that
got
the
it
two
just
game
in
bundles.
case.
Well, let me read this. Which includes both remastered versions of Borderlands 2 and Borderlands: The Pre-Sequel, mysteriously showed up on the ready-to-install page of the Xbox One today. Another reader, Mark, sent us a link to the store page where the game is currently available for no money. We checked with Microsoft and TK Twitter. Facebook and general pages haven't seen any indication that it's supposed to happen. The game is still $5.99 at the PlayStation Store for PS4. I was able to process the free transaction, and now the two games are downloading to my Xbox One. Update, looks like it's a free gift from Microsoft as part of its multiplayer all-access event running over the weekend. The video description reads, play online with friends and free, and enjoy a free game unlock. So the game's free, and they're giving people online play for free for a few days as well.
That's pretty cool.
That is very cool. Good on you, Microsoft. Vine, the website or app or whatever you want to call it, that sort of exploded on the internet and dominated a lot of things, is being shut down. Twitter is discontinuing its Vine and killing off the mobile app. Rest in peace, Vine. The announcement posted on Medium comes just after Twitter announced its latest quarterly earnings. The Vine app will be going away in the coming months, but Vine will continue to exist, I guess, in browser form. It was acquired by Twitter ahead of its launch in 2013. Vine arguably helped kickstart the short-form video craze that has continued with apps such as Snapchat and Instagram. I never used Vine. I'm not a big social media guy.
I haven't used Vine. I've seen some of the videos that they have on YouTube where they're like, this is the best of Vine or whatever. And some of them are pretty good. Some of them are pretty funny, but most of it's just garbage.
Yeah, I don't. It's not my cup of tea. And if I don't like it, I don't use it. Strange concept to some people. Next January in Tokyo, Nintendo will be showing off major details regarding the Switch. Don't worry, the presentation will be streamed. However, there will be no more Switch announcements until this January 12th presentation, which will include the price, the launch date, and the games in development.
I don't know if I can wait that long. I think I'm going to have to fly to Japan, find the Nintendo company, break in, and steal the Switch. I'm just kidding.
Break in, steal it, make it so nobody gets it for a few more years, and you also don't get any software because obviously there's no software released. So
because I just stole their prototype.
Yeah, so having the Switch itself is not going to help you whatsoever. You're going to have nothing. It's like the Nintendo shop, the eShop or whatever.
Right.
Clearly won't be working on it.
The thing is that they're like, we're not going to say anything more about the Switch until January. I'm like, okay.
Well, remember what happened when the Source engine was stolen from Valve? When they had Half-Life 2 in development?
Oh, they're like, okay, that's gone.
Well, it got stolen, and they're like, well, we can't have that, and it knocked back Half-Life 2's release like 2 years or something, if I recall.
Yeah.
Like, it was
because they're
really
like, we got to start over.
Yeah, well, they basically reworked it from the ground up, so whoever stole it clearly didn't help themselves because they never used it, they didn't get anything early, and it ruined it for everybody. Just let them come out with the stupid content. Just let them release it. They'll release it. You can like it or not, or freak out on the internet over something just in an unreasonable way like everybody did with No Man's Sky.
The thing is that it does look amazing. It does. And I'm very intrigued by a lot of the possibilities that it presents. But as far as them saying, forget you, we're not going to say anything more about it until January, that seems kind of weird. But
I think
completely understandable.
Well, the speculation is Nintendo stock has actually dropped recently.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the, I think they're in the red, at least this last fiscal quarter, something like 50 million. So I think something like this as a reveal is supposed to be reassuring to not only investors but to other people. But apparently the reveal knocked down their stock prices as well.
That's weird.
Because investors looked at it and said, well, that doesn't look that great.
What?
And everybody else thought it was really cool, and the investors were like, yeah, we don't really. One of the most famous
Oh man.
transcripts that you could find, which is really entertaining, is apparently it's not Shuhei Yoshida. No, that's the PlayStation guy, the guy that passed away recently, unfortunately.
Right. I can't think of his name, but he was the CEO or
Satoru
whatever.
Iwata.
Yeah, there you go.
There's a famous stuff you can read the transcripts of when he was speaking to the investors, a few years before he died and stuff. And apparently, it comes across as he's really talking down to them because he's trying to explain to them, you don't understand video games, this will work. And I think that was prior to like the Wii. And he's like, look, you guys, and it's apparently really good reading, so it's worth looking up if you're interested.
What makes me kind of want to go along with his assessment of the investors, Nintendo was a baseball card basically company before it switched over and started doing video games, and it's made this huge leap.
Not baseball cards specifically, but a card.
Right.
They made card games. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, they were in cards, and they successfully switched over from these cards to electronic devices and video games, and they did it well. They were successful at it. Obviously, the leadership of Nintendo knows what it's doing. And
interestingly enough, Shuhei Yoshida is the first member of the specific family that ran Nintendo for like hundreds of years.
Yeah. Nintendo was a family-owned, family-operated company, and Shuhei Yoshida was the first one that became the CEO that was not a family member.
Who really understood fun and children and all that. And he was he's one of my favorite CEOs of a company. Famously, the guy before Shuhei Yoshida, despite the fact that they did really successful with the NES and a bunch of other things, didn't understand video games and didn't care for them. And I think it was guys like Miyamoto who had the vision, and Shuhei Yoshida that worked in the company who understood these things, were able to get these things more successful.
And it goes, to go along with that, I'm pretty sure that they have their investors are some of the same people that were there when investing in them when they were the card company. And so they're like, we need to go back to cards. And
usually when they describe the Nintendo shareholders, they're usually described as really old, stuffy men.
Yep. See?
So my prediction is the Switch will do really well. That's my prediction. It looks fantastic. In my opinion, it looks really cool.
This could be another time when Nintendo comes out with a device and people are like, okay, I'm going to get the Nintendo Switch, and now which one am I going to get? Am I going to get the Microsoft, or am I going to get the Sony? And everybody will have a Switch.
It could be like a return of the Wii success.
It could.
Because the Wii killed it. Killed it. Let's shift on, however. Odd story I found on Kotaku. This December, the Tokyo Comic-Con kicks off. The event should be similar to its San Diego counterpart, attracting celebrity guests, hordes of cosplayers. However, at the Tokyo event, there's a significant difference. Men cannot cosplay in women's clothing.
Okay.
As Anime News Network points out, the official site clearly states such under the regarding cosplay outfit section, writing that is prohibited for men to wear female clothing. The ban uses the Japanese word "gyoso," a word that is defined as wearing female clothing and which has the explicit nuance of referring to men wearing women's clothing.
So basically cross-dressing.
Right. However, there is no rule banning women from dressing as men at the Tokyo Comic-Con.
Double standard!
The San Diego Comic-Con does not have any such rule regarding gender-bending cosplay.
That's because it's San Diego.
Usually men dressed as women, like in this article, it has a picture of this fairly bearded, heavy man dressed as Chun-Li, and it's actually pretty funny rather than just, you know what I mean? It doesn't come across as more like cosplay, it just comes across as just funny. To me, anyway.
Look, do whatever you want in your own home, but seriously, I don't want to see cross-dressing men at Comic-Con. I'm sorry, I just don't.
Well, neither do I. That's why I don't go to conventions. See, I don't do things I don't like. Japan has a long... I'm going to keep bringing that up. Japan has a long history of men dressing as women. Heck, Kabuki Theater does not have actresses, and all the women are played by men,
Yep.
wearing female clothing. But as ANN explains, this sort of ban at otaku events is relatively common in Japan because organizers worry about large numbers of men dressed as women showing up.
You know,
Here's a few things.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
Well, here's a few things I'd like
It's
to
really
say.
a fear.
I don't know. Here's a few things I would like to say about this, okay? Firstly, Japan has different culture, and judging them by our standards, whatever our standards are at the moment,
Right.
is kind of not a good thing to do. You don't quite understand how they view things and view the world. There's a thing in Japan, I can't remember the Japanese term for it, where it's Japanese women, it's considered unattractive for them to have wide open mouths.
Right.
So
Right.
some
they'll
burger
hide.
chains, right? So burger chains have
Yeah.
actually sold burger sort of wrapping where when they eat it, it shows a closed mouth. Apparently, it's considered very attractive to have a tiny mouth. I mean, in China for many years, they would break children's feet so that they looked really tiny because they like tiny feet. Weird thing is, if I was in that culture, obviously judging it from my Western perspective, because
Right.
it's a horrifying thing to do to children, little girls.
If you really want to disturb yourself, look up Chinese and tiny feet.
Yeah.
You'll see some
Well,
really awful, horrible
even
photos.
then, if I was married to a lady and I was really into the tiny feet thing, she would have to wear her shoes all the time. Because if she took them off, you would see
They're
this
awful.
horrifying, like, cloven hoof from Satan's doorstep as she came trotting through. Like, it looks just terrible.
Yeah, it does.
So I really don't get it. But
That's not to say that in the West they didn't have things like similar things. There was the Flathead Indians. They would put a rock on top of the kids' heads when they were little, and so their heads would flatten out.
Yeah.
And that's here in the United States. That's not necessarily
in Africa. The longer necks thing. We could
Yeah,
keep
the
going
long
on
neck,
and
yeah.
on. The large ear loops or
distended.
whatever.
Yeah.
First of all, do I like men dressed as women? No. Do I think that they should ban men dressing as women? No. If it comes down to it, I will always advocate freedom more than anything. This is a private organization, and I don't know how Japanese laws go and everything, but they have every right to ban this if they don't want
They
to.
do. I
It
mean,
is
they're the organizers.
unfortunate Sorry, go ahead.
I would say on a couple of fronts, I don't know how legitimate their fear is that hordes of men will descend upon Comic-Con dressed as women.
That's a fair
I
point.
could be wrong here. I could be wrong.
That's a fair point. The point I was making was, gosh, where was I making? A, I don't like it. B, I think you should have as much freedom as possible. C, the company can do whatever they want to. If they don't like it, they can get rid of them. Classically, in these sorts of environments, especially cosplayer environments, they tend to be more progressive when it comes to,
that's true.
at least socially more liberal, if you're going to be more general at it. So they tend to have more people that are into that sort of thing anyway. So I think it's discouraging your already established fan base that probably would be more into this than any other group.
I would also say that you probably don't want to do this if you're not going to make it equal. So women can't dress as men, men can't dress as women.
That is a good point. You should make it equal if you're going to make rules like this. But once again, I'm not in charge of it, nor am I Japanese.
Right.
Let's shift on as we overdrug that topic too long. Once in every generation, there comes an artist too transgressive. Is that a term?
Okay.
Too challenging, too persistently, deliberately incompetent to be appreciated in his own time for low-budget video game movie adaptations of the mid-2000s.
Are they talking
Uwe
about
Boll was
Uwe
that
Boll?
artist. And now he is saying goodbye. In a
Yes,
recent interview-
finally.
In a recent interview with the Toronto Metro, the man who once challenged as many critics to a series of 10-round boxing matches said that he is done fighting to make passion projects like Blood Rain: The Third Reich. According to Boll, the problem, as it always as is always the case with great art, is money. The market
And
is
people
dead.
stopped finally giving him
Well,
money.
The market is dead, Bull told the paper. You don't make any money anymore in movies because the DVD... Did you ever make money? Because the DVD and Blu-ray market worldwide has dropped 80% in the last 3 years. That is the real reason. I just cannot afford to make movies.
No, you can't afford to make bad movies. Start making good movies and people will start throwing cash at you. They won't be able to give it to you fast enough, man.
My response to this is you never made very good movies.
No.
So my guess is that's why the market dried up for you. If you made good movies and you were a financially viable director, you would get stuff thrown at you constantly.
Exactly.
Like you could just do that the rest of your life. But you weren't good. And he took, much like John, took such a personal...
Oh, he was so...
He challenged people to fist fights. Because
he
they
was
told
so
him
sensitive,
his movies
oversensitive.
were garbage. And
Well, they were. They were just telling you the truth, man.
Unfortunate. Good luck, Uwe Boll, as you move on in your... I don't know, whatever you're going to do that's also terrible in the future.
Yeah.
Whatever
man,
terrible career you move into. You know what he should do? Make terrible video games. The difference between a terrible movie and a terrible video game is a terrible movie, you still have video. You still have like a product, whether or not it's good or not. In a video game, if it's bad, like it could be unplayable.
That's true.
GameStop stores across North America are now accepting games and hardware trade-ins from as far back as the original NES.
Wow.
But not everything. They've got lists.
Of course they do.
Apparently, my guess is like the games that there are too many of is probably...
Right, if they've already got it, they're probably like, no, take that away.
Sports games from the PlayStation 1 is my guess. They don't want any up.
Yeah.
I don't know about this going on in the GameStop market. I think they are realizing that gaming industry is moving towards streaming content more, and they're worried that the fact that they have an entire market about buying and selling used games might start to dry up, so they need to go back to the back catalog.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to work out as well as they thought it would, but we'll see.
Well, people are interested in retro gaming and stuff. The thing is
it's
I think
even more
people
popular now than it was before.
Yeah, I think people will not want to go through GameStop to do their retro gaming just because of the prices.
That's probably true. They're probably going to do eBay prices and above, is my guess.
Yeah. See, they're going to jack up the prices. Nobody's going to want to get their retro stuff at
especially
GameStop.
if you have a new buyer in the market, it's going to affect heavily the game prices as well.
Yeah.
Shifting on, Windows 10 gets built-in game streaming this spring. The Xbox One has built-in game streaming, but why not Windows? During today's Windows 10 event, Microsoft announced that Beam Interactive broadcasting technology would be built into operating system with this spring's free creators update. So I'm guessing it's a more streamlined way that you can stream your games through their sort of proprietary software setup and stuff. I mean, if it works really well and it's a good program, good for them. My assumption is this is catered towards people who want an easier way of doing it as opposed to having to figure it out themselves.
Right. Do you know, has there been anybody complaining or anything like that about how the Xbox streaming goes?
Not that I've heard.
Anybody saying, hey, that's really good, it's really bad?
Nope.
Nothing? Yeah.
Of course, I'm not, like, I've streamed some, and Lindsay used to stream frequently when she would play, like, Destiny on the podcast Twitch channel or whatever. But I'm not an expert on the streaming environment in any way.
Right.
I don't have a booby cam. I might actually be more popular if I had a booby cam. They call them boob streamers or whatever, where they play a video game but they do it in like a bikini.
And they have cleavage.
Yeah. That Twitch has actually started booting some of those people.
Good.
Sad story. So if you recall the game Evolve,
Okay.
which had a very interesting premise, which I thought actually sounded really cool.
That's
where
the one where it was like a monster against hunters, right?
Right, but it was a co-op
Right.
thing where you work together to fight against a single monster.
Right. A great big monster, but yeah.
Seemed really cool. Probably something I would have been interested in playing. I'm just not a huge shooter fan, and I have to pick my games with a tight budget as it is.
Well, that and neither you nor I are really into multiplayer online with people we don't know.
Yeah, not really.
So yeah, I mean, Evolve looked really good to me as well. I was like,
so reading this article, Evolve, a team-based shooter about giant monsters, was first released in 2015 as a paid standalone game.
Mhm.
Then it went free to play. Now it's going to keep going on without the help of the people who actually made it. Developers Turtle Rock has posted a letter on the game's forum saying, "Unfortunately, today is the last day that Turtle Rock Studios can work on Evolve."
Oh wow!
The
So
language
they're gonna keep it going. They're just not gonna do any more development on it.
I suppose, let me read on. The language in the letter is weirdly vague, never explicitly saying that the game is being shut down or sold or handed over or whatever. All it really states with clarity is that Turtle Rock, the team that created Evolve and which carried it from THQ's collapse to 2K, will no longer be working on or directly supporting the game. A question from a fan wondering about the situation is answered in no more detail by the game's community manager Shane Colley-Meyer, who responds, "2K ended our contract. We wanted to continue working on the project." And that was it. 2K blog post on the transition offers detail essentially confirming that Turtle Rock won't be working on the game any longer and that the support for Evolve's PC service will continue for the foreseeable future. It also says 2K will continue to evaluate the possibilities of bringing the free-to-play experience to consoles in the future, though right now our focus is on bringing in new players and maintaining the game's audience. I'm guessing this is on like the brink,
Right.
tipping over, and
They're
they're
just
just
not-
not bringing in enough.
If they were bringing in more money, then it wouldn't be a problem, and they wouldn't be at this point. But they're like, we can't keep throwing money at this because we're not making back what we're putting into it.
That's my assumption.
Yeah.
I don't know if I really want to get into this huge discussion. We might come back to this. Shifting on to Donald Glover is going to be the young Lando Calrissian in the new Han Solo movie. I actually really like Donald Glover as an actor. I think he's great. He was in Community. He's in this new show that I think he was part of and wrote, FX's Atlanta. I think he's a great actor. He'd probably do really well. So great.
Wait. Oh, Lando. Duh. Okay, never mind. Sorry.
You hear something different?
No. Anyway, go on.
If
I like him. He's good.
I really like him as an actor. If none of you have noticed, for millions of people on Friday, it felt like somebody had pulled the plug in the internet. A series of malicious cyber attacks known as distributed denial of service, or DDoS attacks, took down Dyn, an internet infrastructure company that, among other things, provides domain name services, online traffic management, and email connectivity to hundreds of companies. That meant that beginning around 4 a.m. Pacific time, web traffic to companies that used Dyn to operate their sites came screeching to a stop.
Wow.
The attack may turn out to be amongst the biggest in history,
Wow.
as mounting evidence pointed to similarities between Friday's attack and a record-setting assault launched last month that shut down the website of a security journalist using compromised devices from the so-called Internet of Things. Any number of devices, including television, smartwatches, alarm clocks, vacuum cleaners, children's toys, and anything else on the internet with an internet connection, are vulnerable to being infected and, without their owner's knowledge, used in that kind of attack. It was, security experts said, a reminder to many of how vulnerable the internet can be, and supported fears that DDoS attacks may be growing strong in their ability to shut down wide swaths of the internet with a single targeted strike.
Wow.
It looks like, based on the map, that pretty much all of California, Seattle, Chicago, Illinois, Detroit area, all the way to the East Coast, covering basically the northern half of the East Coast, except for maybe Maine.
That's impressive.
Some in Texas. See, I didn't notice anything, but it doesn't look like we were on the map of people who really actually got affected.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say I don't remember not having internet access on
and
Friday.
to be fair, we already have internet problems over here, so if it happened,
Yeah.
I might not have noticed.
You'd have just chalked it up to same problem that we had.
Just shrug and keep on. I have something to add today. So I've
Okay.
been playing fairly heavily, and this is probably a part B discussion, but I'm not gonna. I find something to involve myself when I have something to do if I donate plasma or whatever.
Right.
And so I play on my tablet a game, and lately I've been playing a game that lets you put together puzzles, like actual
Okay.
puzzles. So you move around the pieces and insert
Put
them
'em-
like
right.
like a card puzzle would be or whatever.
I've played games like that before. Yeah.
And I played it on the tablet. My tablet's fairly big, so it works really well. And
Mhm.
it's relaxing and entertaining, and it consumes a lot of my time. I've actually missed my bus stop when I ride the bus twice. Twice.
Whoops.
Once I just stayed on it and rode to Richmond and back. The other time I just got off at the next stop. But really fun, and you don't have the problems of pieces everywhere or losing pieces or whatnot. At least until a couple of days ago when I lost a piece.
You lost a piece?
Now, I don't know how it happened. My guess is that one of the pieces got pushed off of the screen to a point where I couldn't select anymore and drag it back on.
Uh-huh.
But I got to the point where I had finished the puzzle and one piece was missing and I had no idea where it was.
That's funny.
Like, the one
I've-
thing that should be fixed in this didn't get fixed. In
I've
that
actually seen it where what happens is you put a piece in the puzzle where you think it goes and it doesn't actually go there, and then you end up putting another piece in over the top, and you don't notice it's underneath, and so it could have been.
I've seen that thing, but there's a way to click on the puzzle where it fades out the puzzle and highlights pieces that are still floating around. So you know if there's still a piece that's not being used, if it's covered by something. I literally lost a piece in a game that shouldn't be losing puzzle pieces.
That's funny.
I don't know where this is going. Maybe this is worth a bigger discussion in another part of the podcast. But the fact that this happened may indicate that we might be seeing more problems, and the internet might, like, fighting over internet freedom or whatever the drama was.
Net neutrality.
Net neutrality might not be as big a deal as the fact that some really crappy people can just randomly
Take it
down
down.
the internet. And I think we
Yeah.
need to pay attention to, like we were talking about with your issue, cybersecurity more than we have been. It's
Right.
become a huge problem. Shifting on. Another related internet issue, which I think has bummed out quite a few people. So what's the one thing that all of the really douchey hipsters really want?
Other than coffee,
Well, internet related.
they want net neutrality.
Specifically a tangible thing.
Free internet.
Google Fiber.
What was that?
Google Fiber. Man,
Google Fiber?
Yeah, man, are people like the hipster group on the internet really obsessed with Google Fiber.
Okay.
Google rolled out its program called Google Fiber, where they basically reworked the internal infrastructure of a lot of cities and made their own internet service provider. And it
Okay.
is by far faster than anything out there. And they did it in direct
be.
competition to other things, and it exists in something like 10 cities.
Okay.
Well, not in 10 cities. That's unrelated. So everybody, whenever I hear people like really into tech stuff, it's like, oh, we really need Google Fiber. It would be great if we could have it. Not all of the biggest cities in the country have it or whatever. It's not widespread. It was sort of trial pushed out there.
Right.
Google Fiber is now halting its rollout
I would imagine so.
in 10 cities and laying off staff as its chief executive Craig Barrett steps down, dealing a major setback to the internet's giant ambitions of blanketing the nation in super speedy internet. Barrett, CEO of Alphabet's Access division, who had been in charge of Google Fiber, said in a blog post that he would stay on as an advisor. Fiber is changing its business and product strategy to focus on new technology and deployment methods to make super fast internet more abundant than it is today. Cities that have begun to roll out fiber will continue, but, said Barrett, the operations will pause in potential fiber cities, yada, yada, yada.
This is so expensive, such an expensive undertaking. The thing is that these hipsters, they just don't understand
No.
how expensive that this is going to be. I can't imagine that Google would be like, oh yeah, we're just gonna pay to put fiber everywhere. That doesn't make any sense.
Well,
That's so
I'm gonna,
expensive.
I'm going to tell you some things that I heard that might explain this, and you're on point. They found that reworking sort of the internal infrastructure, a lot of these major cities and stuff, was excessively expensive,
Yeah.
and that it wasn't cost effective for what they got out of it. And they believe that the initial reason why they did this, and I think that's what the CEO had said at some point, was if they go in direct competition with other things, because think about it this way, Google needs good internet for people to use its products.
Right.
If Google creates with their endless amount of money, creates an effective, huge internet service provider itself, it forces other companies to step it up to keep up with competition.
Yes.
And that's exactly what my assumption is, and what
Well,
some
the
of the
thing is-
indicators. Well, let me finish real quick. What
Keep
some of
going.
the indicators I've heard from people that are sort of in the know, that is probably why they did it in the first place. And I think they realized because it was so expensive, it wasn't cost effective, and they pulled it out. To be fair, other internet companies, because of Google, in many ways because of Google Fiber, have actually stepped up improving their infrastructures and making them
Which is
better and
awesome.
faster. So it did actually do what theoretically it was trying to do in the first place. Sorry,
Right.
go ahead.
No, that's what I was going to say. It's just if they need to get, yeah. And I'm not exactly sure where I'm going with this now.
Let
but
me read this quote so you can
Keep going.
add on to it. Alphabet seems to have been rethinking lots of its non-core activities and either focusing them more narrowly, divesting them, or making other changes. It feels like this is the latest shoe to drop. Although Google is framing this as a pause while it considers the next generation